Welcome to Talk Theory. It's your host, Kiara Barnes, where I talk all things life, what makes us human, and what makes us superhuman. Sit back, relax, and join me for a chat. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Talk Theory. Thank you for being here. Folks, don't forget that tonight we are airing an all-new episode of Fantasy Island, 9/8 Central on Fox, next day on Hulu. So if you missed our last episode, check us out on Hulu. We got all our previous episodes for season 2 on there right now, so definitely check that out. Okay, folks, today we are talking about mental health check-ins. I think it's super easy to just fall into our day-to-days and be glued to our phones and computers and not ever really just checking in, with ourselves. So today's episode is going to be how we can do that and how we can become aware when our body and our mind is trying to tell us something. And this happened pretty recent for me. I could just feel myself becoming a little more irritable, okay, more impatient, lower on energy, not too inspired. And because I think I'm just so used to my regular work routine like everyone else, Monday through Friday, you just get into the I don't know, like what's the word I'm trying routine, I guess. I just continued to push through it until it got to a point of like exhaustion. And so I want to talk about how we can hopefully avoid the point where your body has to shut itself down. And visually all I'm thinking is like, spring cleaning vibes. Just like how we need to clean our kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms. At times we also need to check in with our mental health and provide some spring cleaning, if you will. So, I've discussed this before, but honestly, I feel the best thing to do to get yourself out of that kind of energy is you just have to strengthen your awareness with yourself. Like, if you don't really have a awareness ability, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to say like, oh, hold on, like time out. I need to take a minute. I think we tend to write off how smart our bodies are. Like they are really capable of so much more than what we even realize. And for instance, we don't have to think about how our blood flows through our body, or how our brain processes information. The body just knows how to do all of those things without us necessarily having to say, okay, let's pump some blood through here. It's already happening. So to think that when we're getting these signals from our bodies that are telling us to rest or telling us to take a breath or take a break, that those are educated suggestions from this very intelligent body that we all have. And the only true way to really see if what I'm saying is true is to just test the theory, right? Like next time you're maybe feeling sleepy, because I know that's a common one for most people. Instead of pushing through it, drinking some coffee, whatever it is, ignoring that signal, what if you did? Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. Power nap, 5 to 10 minutes. Just try it out. And then take notice afterwards how your workflow is, or your ability to hold on to more concentration. Are you less foggy? I know that I started doing this within acting. When you're doing meetings or auditions, it takes a lot of brain power. More than you realize, because you're putting your body in these very specific situations based on whatever the character's going through, and then you have to connect to it, so you have to get your body to feel whatever it is that they're feeling. So the human body can't really decipher from reality and make believe. So yeah, a lot of the times you can be really tired prepping for a lot of these scripts because your body's going through these emotions. So I started, if I feel tired before I'm about to do a meeting or a tape or anything like that, instead of pushing through, I just started taking naps. Like, I just was like, okay, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes, see how I feel. If I'm still really tired at the 10-minute mark, give myself 5 minutes more. And every time I feel so much better, a lot more clear in my head, and just a little more grounded than if I were to just say, okay, let me just push through and have a coffee. Because now I'm maybe a little erratic, a little hyper. So, that has helped for me. Also, another part of this is to not get so down on yourself when you start realizing these signals. I think it's super easy to want to assign some kind of blame, but don't. It's not worth the time or energy. The point of it is that it's way more important that you're able to identify with your body now. That's really all that matters. It's better late than never. And I feel some sort of peace when it comes to connecting again with the body. Like that is what you want to zone in on. Not like, oh, I wish I would have done this or that earlier. It's fine. It's fine. You got to where you are right now. You checking in. That's perfect. And as we're taking some stock mentally, I think it's also worth mentioning checking in with our sleeping habits, our screen time, the mental chatter, food and water consumption. All of these things really do have a strong impact on the body and on the mind. So checking what time you're going to sleep and if you're getting enough is really important. I had to check myself, okay, with this one. I was spending, this is very recent, like literally had this moment like last night. Spending a lot of time on my phone before bed, just scrolling. And they do say, again, this isn't a science class, so do your research, but they do say that if you guys are like, who's they? Google, science. They do say if you're watching stuff on your phone, no, this is really for real. If you're watching stuff on your phone or scrolling, you are keeping your brain in a hyperactive mode right before bed. So, which makes sense. Like that just makes sense. So even when you're laying down and trying to get to bed after scrolling, your brain is trying to process the last hour or two of whatever you were having it digest on your phone. And so, personally, I found myself going to bed at 1 or 2 a.m. sometimes because I got caught up scrolling. And everyone knows, TikTok is so addictive because it's so easy to be on there for hours without realizing it. And of course, that just carries into the next day. which will make you feel less inspired and overall a sense of lagging, So now that I'm aware of that, I'm making it an active effort and goal for the last hour before bed to either read a book that makes me feel good. That way I'm putting, good nutrition in my brain, words and things before I sleep. Because we all know like the power of subconscious mind and what we digest before bed that ends up staying with us when we sleep. So either doing that or some kind of meditation. That way I can get a full rest. Some kind of meditation. There's a bunch of really good guided ones for sleep on YouTube that I'll do. I have meditation apps that I'll do. Sometimes I'll just like play a soundscape and kind of guide myself, actually. Interestingly enough, I feel like mental chatter goes hand in hand with our sleeping patterns. Sleep affects so much. It's actually kind of wild because more than likely, if you're more tired, you're not in the best of moods. Your mental chatter may be a little more chaotic and negative. And when I start noticing a chaotic or negative mental chatter, I have to express it out loud. Write it down. I just have to get it out of my mind. And more times than not, when I do this, it allows me to get to the other side of it. And sometimes saying these things out loud or seeing them written on a page, you sometimes look at the oddity of them, or just you feel a sense of disconnect, like an unrelatability, which is a great place to be. Because when it comes to this stuff, you're realizing that those thoughts are not actually you, but more so as a result of events, circumstances, from choices that you've made or observations that you've made, which is an even better feeling because then you realize that choices are interchangeable. You can change them to work for you rather than against you. And all of a sudden that power dynamic of like feeling out of control with life and what's going on, you realize that, yeah, you might not necessarily be able to control how things happen, but you can control how you observe things, which then can affect how you feel. But sometimes the reality is, in order to get there, you have to just get it out, In order to get through something, you have to go through it. So food and water seems like a no-brainer, but I do think that a lot of folks, we just tend to forget, just how important it is. I am also folks. Our body thrives off hydration and proper nutrition. So when it's lacking from one or the other or both, it really does struggle, with its own process of self-regulation. I think we've all been crabby or tired if we let ourselves go too long without food. But more importantly, water. I recently have been busier with work, and when I'm studying scripts, I like to have extra focus. So I'll make a little tea because coffee is like my emergency drink. That's like, because I don't like how erratic. Well, sometimes you feel really, really good, but I will say it's the crash that gets me. The crash is the brutal part. And for me, it doesn't even last like, oh, I was just tired for a few hours. No. It takes me like a few days. So I do my tea. But even tea is dehydrating as well. And I forget to drink water. So here's a reminder, folks. Drink your water. Drink your water. Drink your water. It really is amazing to me that these few things could really be so affecting when it comes to our mental health. But on the other end, it does make sense. You know, our bodies are complex, but also simple when it comes to their basic necessities or needs. Okay, now that we've figured out the checking in with our bodies and minds, now we can move forward with more clear intention when it comes to our actions. For me, sometimes I like to turn on some kind of meditation music or instrumental music, jazz, lo-fi beat, whatever it is, and just take 5 good deep breaths to start. And then I have this internal dialogue with myself. For me, because I'm spiritual and that's what I identify with, I do use this time to ask for guidance from the universe, from angels, from my guides. And I just see what thoughts come to my head. I also allow any feelings or thoughts to be fully processed. If I'm feeling irritable or annoyed while I'm sitting there or feel like I've got a ton of thoughts, I don't try to shut them off. I allow them to be. It's kind of the same idea when we talked about just saying stuff out loud or getting it down on a page. You want to let your thoughts just be your thoughts, right? Just let them be, and then you are the observer. Because often those uncomfortable thoughts lead us to major breakthroughs. And maybe sitting down doesn't work for you, and that's okay. So explore different avenues, like maybe working out. That's where you feel the most centered, right? When you're walking on a treadmill or something, or you're lifting weights because you're just in your own world. Or going on a walk outside or a drive, whatever it is, where you can be with yourself to process next steps. I've even noticed switching up my environment of what I'm looking at. So I've started like moving around the house when it comes to studying or journaling or reading, instead of just doing it from my bed or from regular spots, just to change my environment. I've noticed that for me, getting a lot of light is super important. So I make sure the windows are drawn open. I make sure that maybe sometimes a window's propped, or, go somewhere. Go to like a park. Go to a coffee shop, just something to get me to feel less bogged down, So figure out whatever it is where you can be with yourself to process those next steps. And so once you've done that, for me, once I've identified with some ideas that make sense for me, I write those down and begin to apply them. This is also a reminder that mental health in general is an up and down journey. And as humans, we experience things every day that influence how we process and take things in. So it makes sense for us to have those peaks and valleys. If anything, that's proof of evolution and growth. We've really got to start giving ourselves some credit, guys. For a second, just pause. Take stock of where you are now versus where you were a few years ago. You have experienced so much, and you're still here. And you've experienced beautiful things, fun moments, had incredible times. You continue to create better for yourself. You continue to strive more because you internally knew that you could have better. You're still waking up. You're still alive. That is a big deal. It really is. You know, be proud of yourself. You don't need to water down human existence. You are alive experiencing the human experience, you know? That is something to get excited about. And so I think, like I said earlier, just giving yourself some grace to notice that and encourage yourself for being introspective, for taking care of yourself, all of that is really, really good. So in closing, be patient with yourself. You are learning as you go, just like the rest of us. I don't think anyone on this planet has anything figured out. We're all just trying to do our best. And at the end of the day, we cannot know what we don't know. Period. We cannot know what we don't know. So, you know, tomorrow, I don't know what that's going to look like. And that's okay. You know, it's like we don't always have to be the Bill Nyes of everything and you know, trying to connect the dots. It's like, this is why it's good to do these mental health check-ins, spring cleaning, to give yourself that grace and give yourself a check-in like, hey, you're doing good. Like, relax, you know, take some time, you know, rebalance, resettle. So the theory of the week is this: if we can hold the gaze of love toward our own growth, we will blossom an entire field of endless opportunities through happiness and joy. If we can hold the gaze of love towards our own growth, we will blossom an entire field of endless opportunities through happiness and joy. Okay? Okay. All right, folks. Thank you so much. This was a nice little, you know, a nice little episode on taking care of ourselves, giving ourselves some love. Nothing wrong with that. So I appreciate you guys being here with me and listening. I appreciate it every time. Don't forget, Fantasy Island is back tonight, 9/8 Central on Fox, next day on Hulu. And it's going to be a good one, guys. We're coming close to a closing of the second season, so make sure you're watching along and staying up with the story. Okay, I shall see you next week. Okay, love you. Bye.